Many times, the price is the determining factor, and that was surely the case here. Hi there, my name is Kevin, and I make honest, unsponsored, and to-the-point narrated video tours about resorts and flights all over the world. This is video number 104, and today we're at the CONRAD Bali, just north of Nusa Dua. Stick around for the full tour of this expansive resort. Welcome to Nusa Dua, which is where the CONRAD advertises as being, but in reality, it's kinda not true. Not a big deal though, it's just a little bit to the north. If you'd like to know the exact rate that I paid for my stay, as well as my next 5 videos in queue, please check out the description below. And as a side note for those who are watching on a TV, I know the descriptions are not easily accessible to you, and I'm actively working on a solution to fix this. Perched above the main road, the reception pavilion immediately clues you in on what type of resort you're walking into. The CONRAD is very much a classically elegant big box resort with 360 rooms spread along the 350 meters of beachfront. Something that might not be so classically elegant though is this transition to where I ask you to please take a moment and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it, and consider subscribing for 3 new videos each week. Feel free to leave a comment or question as well, and be sure to check out my new Patreon linked in the description. A big thank you in advance. Check-in is done while seated at the reception desks, a detail that I wish more big box resorts would do, and I was served my first dose of jamu, Indonesia's famous turmeric and ginger tonic, which 2 months later is still probably free-flowing through my veins. The pavilion has a reception area, a terrace overlooking the primary pools, and a lobby lounge all under one roof. The lounge, simply named East, focuses on afternoon tea service and evening cocktails. Before you enjoy too many cocktails though, let's check out where we actually are. Nusa Dua is in the far southeast of the island, and the CONRAD is just a 15 or 20 minute ride from the airport. One note, since this resort is pretty spread out, I'm just going to give these 3 labels to the general areas around so that when I refer to the areas you know where I'm talking about. Right now, we're in the heart of the resort in the A area, and we're going to first check out the swimming pools on the beach. There are a variety of pools available, with the central one being 33 meters long and flanked on either side by smaller lagoons that connect the ground floor rooms, which then lead to pools with fake beaches in them, something that it's just not my thing, but hey, to each their own. As we explore a bit, let me quickly explain how this property got on my radar. Quite simply put, it was the cheapest CONRAD resort I think I've ever seen, and I wanted to know if it was going to be a true CONRAD, or if it was going to be a dated mess. In case you're not aware, CONRAD is the original premier brand of Hilton, now sharing the spotlight with Waldorf Astoria. As far as these premium brands go, I find that all of the major hotel groups seem to purposely maintain a handful of older resorts to appease their elite members with the fanciest names in the portfolio at relatively low cash and redemption rates. In my experience, I see this most often with Ritz-Carltons, Intercontinentals, and CONRADs. I could be way off the mark, but this is just my own experience. This property is rarely over $200 a night for a basic room, and starts at around 40,000 Hilton Honors points per night. With around 20% of the rooms being suites, there's also a decent capacity for elite upgrades. Here you can see those oddly sandy pools with the kids club behind it. Let me point out that while I really didn't see that many kids here during my stay, they were certainly a focus, with the kids club and activities and separate kids menus at the restaurants. Onto the beach, which is a bit of a mixed bag. On the southern side of the property, in front of the A portion, the beach is shallow with a lot of seaweed deposits. The seaweed I'm not going to hold against them though, as they had an army of staff cleaning the beaches in the mornings. Further to the north, in front of the B zone, is a much nicer area for lounging, but there's just one problem. There are hordes of tour hawkers throughout the area all day. All beaches in Bali are public access, so while this could happen anywhere, I've never seen it quite as bad as it is here today. There were enough of them to make me feel as if I probably wouldn't want to be happy sitting there all day long, just having to say no thanks, I'm allergic to tours 100 times a day. The other guests at the resort seemed to agree with me too, because I did not once see someone occupying one of the loungers on the beach. Should you choose to sit there though, there was service available, which was throughout the resort in all of the pool and beach areas. For lunch, I headed to the poolside Azure, which was a bit of a disappointment. Actually, lunch and dinner were collectively the low points of my stay. I ordered a Balinese spiced chicken wrap, which in reality just tasted like any other chicken wrap that you've ever had, and was quite small for the price. On the other side of the resort, specifically the back area of the B side heading over to C, there's a decent-sized fitness center and a more focused effort on the landscaping in these parts, as the C wing is where all of the suites are. The hotel was built in 2004, with its last renovation in 2010, as best as I can find info on at least. The rooms do feel a bit more updated than that. While the landscaping is a bit nicer and they have their own pool, I will note that the suites wing is set much further back from the beach, so the majority of them won't have ocean views. Alright, now just to give you an idea of how big the resort is, let's check out my journey to my room from the reception area. Admittedly, in retrospect, a time lapse probably wasn't the best choice for this. Based on my guesstimate from Google Maps, it's around a quarter mile or around 400 meters walk with all of the zigzagging just to get from A to B. Before we get to the room, let me just briefly point out how well kept and lush the room corridors are. I've honestly got to assume that my information about the date that the last renovation took place is not correct. Either way, hats off to them for keeping it immaculate. For my stay, I booked an Ocean View Superior King. The specific room that I was assigned I think is a bit of an anomaly. It's in the same category that I booked, but it's at the far corner of the room blocks, and so the layout is a bit different. And while it has full windows looking along the beach, it has a smaller than standard balcony on the side. Overall, I'd say it's a mini upgrade and a nice surprise. Walking in, the rooms immediately feel fresh and clean and modern and could easily induce a vacation-related coma. Across the board, with a few quirks that I'll point out in a moment, the room ticked all the boxes. There was a minibar area with supplies for tea and French press coffee, and the signature stuffed animal, here in Bali, a monkey sporting a traditional Balinese outfit, apparently armed with a corkscrew. The decor is what I like to call non-offensive corporate tropical, but a nice version of that, to be honest, with hints of Art Deco and Balinese textiles throughout. There are plenty of outlets throughout the room and a nicely sized working desk with added windows and storage due to the layout of this specific room. For the closet, it was sort of a wardrobe and a half, with all of the standard amenities on the main side, and then a safe and a set of drawers on the smaller side. Now into the bathroom. Yes, it's not brand new, but I see nothing wrong with it, except for the absolutely horrible lighting that they have in the shower and toilet area, which bleeds out into the rest of the bathroom with an unflattering yellow glow. Full bathtub with lots of counter space and a window behind the mirror, which moves from side to side as well. I mean, seriously, the lighting designer must have been blind. It's almost as if someone said, "We have really nice bathrooms, but they're just feeling a bit too modern and up to date. What can we do to throw them back to, let's say, 1987? From there, we head out to the smallish balcony, complete with table and chairs. Overlooking the B area here, I can't help but imagine how much more beautiful this area would be with the Intercontinental Jimbaran's landscaping designers. Don't get me wrong, it's still nice here, but if you haven't checked out my review of the Intercontinental, make sure that you do, because their landscaping was just on a completely different level. Let's explore a few of those quirks. Prior to my visit, I saw 2 reviews claiming the hotel was using counterfeit Shanghai Tang products. I'm in no way suggesting that to be true, but I can kinda see what they were talking about. It is a beautiful picture window, but it's filthy. If you live in the tropics, you'll understand why I jumped when I opened the jar, thinking that those dried rose petals were bugs. My personal pet peeve, the coffee on offer was ground far too finely to use in a French press. And last, but possibly most importantly, I'm not a parent, but I have to imagine that this is a safety hazard, which happens when you fully open the bathroom doors and then try to open the main door. Alright, on to dinner at 8 degrees south, which is also our location relative to the equator. The restaurant is very spread out with indoor, outdoor, half and half, and lounge areas, and had a very promising seafood focused menu. Please let me note clearly that this venue had reopened just a few days before my visit, being closed for the entirety of COVID. So it's very possible that some of my critique is related to growing pains. Things started well with some really good bread, sambal, and prawn butter, which I would happily put on everything forever and always. For the starter, I had the baby squid with bamboo shoot stuffing, artisanal black garlic, pumpkin fondant, and Balinese bulung, which I can best describe as local wakame. The dish was just super bland. For the main, I chose the mahi-mahi, which had a rosemary and jalapeno crust, seafood bisque, and grilled baby romaine with rosemary oil. I'm sorry, but I would bet my chihuahua that there is no one on earth that could taste rosemary or jalapeno in that dish. Again, just really bland. If you prefer to have your bland food in private though, that is also an option. As we're on the east side of the island, the next morning brought a beautiful sunrise. There's that army of cleaning staff cleaning up the beach. As it's all natural debris that washes up, they just dig holes and bury it on the spot, which, while it may be effective, was just pretty amusing to watch. Alright, I know what you're all thinking. All we need now is a church. Well, wouldn't you know it that there's a wedding chapel on site in front of the sea area. While it is a beautiful setting and design, I can't help but wonder if weddings are better suited for the west side of the island where you'll get the sunset, unless you're having a 6 a.m. wedding, which then, of course, go ahead. By the time I moseyed on over to the main part of the resort, the golden light had begun to just envelop everything that it touched for a pretty spectacular display. On to breakfast at Suku. In addition to the extensive breakfast buffet, Suku is also the all-day dining venue, and you'll find the menu at the end of this clip. Just one note for regular viewers of the channel, well, I guess for anyone, there are 2 occasions when I don't lift the covers on all of the food items. The first is if it's just a basic food staple. Fried rice, chicken sausage, miso soup. You know what all that looks like. Generally, I'll try to show off individual dishes if they stand out as really well done, or a local dish that you wouldn't normally find on a buffet. The other case where I don't open the covers is related to COVID. I'm not even going to attempt to share my opinion about it, but I will just say that some resorts put more effort into COVID protocols than others. The big box resorts are usually the most strict that I find. So, if it's clear to me that the staff would probably not be too keen on me opening every single item just to film it, then I'm going to respect that. This is one of the better and more comprehensive buffets that I saw on offer in Bali, and while the food was all good, I assume you're not missing much by not seeing what's underneath. As COVID restrictions ease, and when I'm in countries without restrictions, you'll see a lot more detail about things like this. My only complaint was the dumb little salt and pepper packets, because COVID apparently. Actually, maybe this is why the food was so bland. Just a few more quick bits to show off. First of all, the spa, which had a pretty sparsely stocked reception area, not exactly inspiring me to want to know more. And then the tennis courts, which are available for all guests, along with the bike rental area. Finally, lining the corridors that connect the buildings are a multitude of shops which didn't really add much. Actually, they're all independently operated, and between varying operating hours, and many of them just being completely shut down, I'd say a palm tree would add more value to the guest experience. Alright, so as we head into the flip-flop score, what are we thinking? I was really pleasantly surprised. The room was modern and fresh except for the god-awful lighting. The location and beach are nice, but you gotta just deal with the hawkers. The food program seems promising. Breakfast was great, lunch and dinner had great menus, and the execution was okay, but the flavor was just missing. Amenities and facilities were mostly top-notch, and while it did feel scripted at times, the service was appropriate for the size of the property and the brand. For the money or points required, I think this poses a great overall value for a family vacation. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe for a lot more content to come. I'll see you next time on my flight from Denpasar, Bali to Saigon on Vietjet.